Vanilla is more than just a flavor. It is the scent of home, the taste of childhood, and a quiet promise of comfort. When we think of vanilla, we might picture warm cookies fresh from the oven, or maybe a scoop of creamy ice cream on a hot summer day. It is a flavor that feels both simple and, at the same time, luxurious. Many people consider it a basic, plain choice, but honestly, this could not be further from the truth. The story of this beloved flavor is a long and winding road, filled with adventure, secrets, and, well, some surprising twists. It is a journey that crosses oceans, connects ancient civilizations to modern kitchens, and reveals how a single flower pod came to conquer the world's taste buds. The love for vanilla is nearly universal. It is a fundamental building block in the world of sweets, from cakes and pastries to candies and custards. Yet its role extends far beyond dessert. Vanilla has a unique ability to enhance other flavors, making chocolate taste richer and fruit taste sweeter. This subtle power has made it a secret weapon for chefs and food producers for centuries. Its warm, inviting aroma has also found its way into candles, perfumes, and lotions, creating a sense of calm and well-being. This widespread appeal is not a recent phenomenon. The fascination with vanilla began long ago in a faraway land, with a special flower and the people who first unlocked its delicious secret. Before it was a staple in every baker's pantry, vanilla was a treasure. It was a spice so revered that it was used by royalty and even offered to gods. Its journey from a sacred ingredient to a global commodity is a tale of exploration, botany, and, believe it or not, even a little bit of thievery. The story involves Aztec emperors, Spanish conquistadors, and a young boy on a remote island who solved a puzzle that had stumped botanists for decades. Understanding this history gives us a new appreciation for that familiar bottle of vanilla extract sitting on the shelf. It reminds us that behind the simplest pleasures often lies a complex and fascinating past, waiting to be discovered and savored. So, let us begin this journey. We will travel back in time to the humid rainforests of Mesoamerica, where the story of vanilla first took root. We will follow its path as it crossed the Atlantic, captivating the royal courts of Europe and sparking a desperate race to cultivate it far from its native home. We will uncover the reasons behind its once staggering price and explore the clever innovations that finally made it accessible to the world. By the end, the simple taste of vanilla will no longer seem so simple. It will be imbued with the richness of its own incredible history, a history as sweet and complex as the flavor itself. The story of vanilla begins in the warm, tropical forests of what is now Mexico. It does not come from a simple plant, but from a beautiful and particular flower, an orchid. Specifically, it grows on the vanilla planifolia, a type of climbing orchid that winds its way up the trunks of trees in the jungle. This orchid produces a greenish-yellow flower that is lovely to look at, but its beauty is fleeting. Each flower blooms for only one day, sometimes for just a few hours. If it is not pollinated during this brief window of time, it will wither and fall, and no vanilla pod will grow. This delicate and time-sensitive nature is the first clue to why vanilla has always been a special and precious spice. For centuries, the vanilla orchid grew only in this part of the world. It had a unique relationship with its environment. The key to its survival was a tiny local bee called the Melipona bee. This specific bee was the only insect capable of pollinating the vanilla flower. The flower's structure is very complex, with a small membrane blocking the part that receives pollen from the part that produces it. The Melipona bee had evolved to be the perfect locksmith for this floral puzzle, able to navigate the intricate parts of the blossom to ensure pollination. Without this tiny bee, the vanilla orchid could not produce its famous fruit, the long, thin pod we call a vanilla bean. The people who first discovered the magic of the vanilla bean were the Totonac people of eastern Mexico. For them, vanilla was a gift from the gods. They used it to flavor their foods and drinks, and it played an important role in their rituals and medicine. They called the vanilla pod Tlilxochitl, which means black flower, referring to the dark color of the cured bean. The Totonacs were the original keepers of vanilla's secret, cultivating the orchids in their forests and mastering the complex process of curing the beans. This curing process was just as important as the growing, involving months of drying and sweating the pods to develop their deep, rich aroma and flavor. When the Aztecs conquered the Totonacs in the 15th century, they too fell in love with vanilla. They demanded tribute from the Totonac people, and one of the most valuable items they collected was the precious vanilla bean. The Aztecs did not just eat vanilla, they revered it. They famously mixed it with cacao beans, another local treasure, to create a luxurious, frothy drink called chocolatl. This drink was reserved for nobles, warriors, and emperors. It was a symbol of power and wealth. It was in the court of the Aztec Emperor Montezuma that a European would first taste this incredible flavor, an encounter that would change the history of vanilla forever. The first European to encounter vanilla was likely the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés. In the early 1500s, when he and his men arrived at the court of the Aztec Emperor Montezuma II, they were offered the royal drink, chocolatl. This chocolate beverage, spiced with chili and vanilla, was unlike anything they had ever tasted. The Spaniards were captivated by the exotic aroma and flavor of the vanilla pods. They quickly understood their value, and along with gold, silver, and chocolate, they brought vanilla beans back to Spain. For the first time, the secret of the Totonacs and Aztecs had crossed the Atlantic Ocean, arriving in the royal courts of Europe. Vanilla became an instant sensation among the European elite. It was incredibly rare and expensive, a luxury that only the wealthiest nobles and royals could afford. The Spanish held a tight monopoly on the spice for nearly 300 years because the vanilla orchid would not produce fruit anywhere else. They imported the cured beans from Mexico, selling them for exorbitant prices across Europe. Queen Elizabeth I of England was said to be obsessed with the flavor, and King Louis XIV of France was so enchanted that he tried to grow the orchid in his royal gardens. But all attempts to cultivate vanilla outside of its native Mexico failed. The plants would grow, but they never produced the precious pods. The reason for this failure was a mystery that puzzled botanists for decades. They transported the vines to botanical gardens in Paris and greenhouses in Belgium, but the result was always the same: beautiful flowers, but no vanilla beans. The missing piece of the puzzle, of course, was the tiny Melipona bee. Without its specific pollinator, the vanilla orchid was useless. The Europeans did not know about the bee's crucial role, and the secret of vanilla pollination remained locked away in the Mexican rainforest. This biological barrier ensured that Mexico remained the sole producer of vanilla, keeping the price astronomically high and making it one of the most sought-after spices in the world. The breakthrough finally came in 1841, not from a famous botanist, but from a 12-year-old boy named Edmond Albius. Edmond was an enslaved child living on the French island of Réunion in the Indian Ocean. He was working on a vanilla plantation where the orchids had been planted in yet another hopeful attempt to produce beans. With keen observation and cleverness, Edmond figured out how to pollinate the flowers by hand. Using a thin splinter of wood or a blade of grass, he carefully lifted the membrane inside the flower and transferred the pollen by hand. It was a simple, elegant solution to a problem that had stumped experts for centuries. His technique worked perfectly, and soon vanilla orchids on Réunion were heavy with beans. Edmond Albius's discovery of hand pollination was a revolution. It shattered the Mexican monopoly and allowed vanilla to be cultivated in other tropical regions around the world. The French introduced the technique to their other colonies, such as Madagascar and Tahiti. Soon these places became major producers of vanilla, with Madagascar eventually growing into the world's leading supplier. However, even with this new method, producing vanilla remained an incredibly labor-intensive and delicate process. Every single flower still had to be pollinated by hand, one by one, during its short 24-hour bloom. This meticulous work is why vanilla, to this day, remains the second most expensive spice in the world, right after saffron. The journey of the vanilla bean from flower to flavor is a long and patient one. After hand pollination, the pods take about 9 months to mature on the vine. Once harvested, they have no taste or smell. The characteristic vanilla flavor is developed through a painstaking curing process that can take several more months. The beans are repeatedly blanched, sweated in blankets, and slowly dried in the sun. This careful multi-step process allows enzymes to break down compounds inside the bean, creating the main flavor component, vanillin, along with hundreds of other aromatic compounds that give natural vanilla its complex, creamy, and floral notes. The sheer amount of time and human effort involved is what makes a single high-quality vanilla bean so valuable. One of the most surprising facts about vanilla is that most of the vanilla flavor we consume today does not come from a vanilla bean at all. Because natural vanilla is so expensive, scientists in the 19th century figured out how to create vanillin, its primary flavor compound, synthetically in a lab. Today, it is estimated that over 95% of vanilla-flavored products, from sodas to baked goods, use this artificial vanillin. It can be made from various sources, including wood pulp and even a petrochemical derivative called guaiacol. While it provides a recognizable vanilla taste, it lacks the depth and complexity of the real thing, which contains hundreds of subtle flavor notes that artificial vanillin just cannot replicate. Despite the prevalence of its imitation, the world's love for true vanilla endures. It has become a flavor that transcends cultures and connects generations. Its comforting, familiar taste makes it a foundation of modern dessert making, a flavor that feels both timeless and universally cherished. From its sacred origins in an Aztec emperor's cup to its place in every home baker's kitchen, the journey of vanilla is a testament to human curiosity, ingenuity, and our enduring desire for a little bit of sweetness. The next time you enjoy the simple pleasure of a vanilla-flavored treat, remember the